In the farthest reaches of the galaxy, the Zolgar were known as the strongest species. They were massive, towering beings, standing nearly twice the height of any human. Their muscles were thick, their skin tough as metal, and their eyes glowed with an eerie red light. The Zolgar were no ordinary creatures. They had ruled the galaxy for centuries, conquering planet after planet, leaving no one to challenge their might. Their empire was vast, stretching across hundreds of star systems. The Zolgar had technology beyond the imagination of any other species. They could crush entire cities with a single wave of their hand. Their warships could level planets, and their weapons were so powerful that even the toughest enemies fell with ease. The Zolgar believed they were unstoppable. They thought they were the rulers of the universe, and no one could ever take that power from them. Other species in the galaxy lived in fear of the Zolgar. Some had tried to fight back in the past, but each time the Zolgar had crushed them. No one dared to challenge their authority anymore. To the other species, the Zolgar were a force of nature, something that could not be defeated, no matter how hard they tried. It was said that the Zolgar were unbeatable, that they were born to rule. The Zolgar themselves had grown arrogant in their power. They looked down on other species, believing them to be weak and insignificant. They saw no need to listen to the cries of the other species in the galaxy. The Zolgar's leaders, known as the High Council, were always surrounded by their loyal warriors, keeping the galaxy under tight control. The council members had long since stopped believing in any real threat to their power. They lived in their grand palaces, enjoying the riches they had earned from their conquests. The High Council's leader, Emperor Xylog, was the most powerful of them all. His strength was unmatched, even among his own people. His eyes were sharp, his mind quicker than any of his enemies, and his presence commanded respect. He believed that nothing could ever challenge his rule, not in his lifetime, not in 1,000 lifetimes. The Zolgar didn't just rule with force. They ruled with fear. They knew that if anyone dared to rise against them, they would be crushed instantly. Their warships patrolled the stars, their soldiers marched on every planet they controlled, and their spies gathered information on every species in the galaxy. The Zolgar left no room for rebellion, no room for weakness. To challenge them was to invite your own destruction. But not all species were content with living under the Zolgar's thumb. There were whispers among the lesser species, small groups who were tired of living in fear. These species had watched as the Zolgar crushed their friends, their families, their homes, and they were starting to wonder if there could be a way to stop them. In the shadows, in the quiet corners of the galaxy, people began to talk. They spoke of a new species, a species unlike any they had ever seen before. These creatures were small, their bodies frail compared to the Zolgar. They were not warriors like the Zolgar. They didn't have the strength, the size, or the power to face them directly. Yet, they were different. They had something the Zolgar did not expect: resourcefulness. The humans, as they were called, had begun to develop their own technology. It wasn't as advanced as the Zolgar's, but it was growing fast. They had a knack for inventing new things, for thinking in ways the Zolgar didn't understand. They were curious, clever, and brave. And most importantly, they were united. At first, the Zolgar didn't take the humans seriously. They were just another species, small and weak, struggling to survive in a galaxy controlled by the Zolgar. They thought the humans would be easy to crush, just like all the others before them. They thought they could just ignore them and continue their reign of power. But the humans were not like the others. The more the Zolgar learned about them, the more they realized that this new species was not going to back down easily. They might not have the size or the strength of the Zolgar, but they had something far more dangerous: determination. In the dark corners of space, the humans were preparing. They were getting stronger, faster, and more organized. And the Zolgar, in their arrogance, didn't even see it coming. The galaxy had seen many wars. It had seen the rise and fall of many empires. But the Zolgar believed that they were eternal. They thought that no species could ever challenge them. But little did they know, the biggest challenge of their entire existence was coming. And it would come from the most unexpected place. The Zolgar had always ruled with an iron fist. For centuries, no one had dared to challenge them. Their power seemed endless, their technology unstoppable. To the other species in the galaxy, the Zolgar were gods, untouchable, unbeatable. But change was coming, and the Zolgar didn't even know it. Deep in the heart of the galaxy, the Galactic Council, a group of leaders from various species, had begun to notice something unusual. At first, it was just rumors, whispers in the dark corners of space. A new species, they were told. A species with no warships, no armies, no weapons like the Zolgar. Just a small, fragile species called humans. The Council wasn't sure what to make of it. The humans were still young, their technology primitive, their population small. Yet their intelligence was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. The humans were learning quickly, inventing new tools, discovering new ways of using the resources around them. It was strange. How could such a weak species be so clever? Ambassador Valor, the leader of the Terraki, an ancient race known for their wisdom, first brought up the humans during a council meeting. There are whispers, Valor began, his voice low and serious, of a species, human, I believe they are called. They are small, but they are clever. And they are growing faster than we expected. The other members of the council laughed. The Zolgar were far too powerful. They had crushed rebellion after rebellion. The Zolgar had conquered entire star systems with ease. What could a weak species like humans possibly do? The idea that humans could threaten the Zolgar seemed laughable. Councillor Thrax, a fierce warrior from the Shirak species, spoke up, his voice booming. A species of such small beings. He shook his head, chuckling. They are no threat. Even if they have some tricks, they cannot stand against the might of the Zolgar. But Valor didn't laugh. He had seen something different in the humans. He had watched them from a distance, studied their rapid progress. You may be right, Valor said slowly. But we must be careful. The Zolgar have grown too comfortable. They think they are invincible. But a species that underestimates others, no matter how strong, can make dangerous mistakes. Despite Valor's warning, the rest of the council ignored the humans. The Zolgar were too powerful, too deeply entrenched in the galaxy's politics. The council members believed that nothing would ever change. They went on with their plans, unaware that something was brewing in the distance. Meanwhile, on Earth, the humans were unaware of the looming threat that had already begun to stir. They lived their lives, focused on their own survival, their own challenges. The idea that other species in the galaxy might be watching them seemed far-fetched, even impossible. But the humans were not just survivors. They were problem solvers. At first, their technology was basic. They had ships that could barely travel beyond their solar system. But their engineers, scientists, and inventors were growing faster than anyone expected. They made breakthroughs in energy production, weapons, and shipbuilding. Within a few short years, they had developed technology that was far more advanced than anyone had anticipated. Commander Sarah Weaver, the leader of the human fleet, was one of the few who saw the bigger picture. She knew that Earth's future was tied to the stars, and she knew the Zolgar were the biggest threat to that future. The humans couldn't fight the Zolgar with brute strength. They didn't have the resources, the numbers, or the firepower. But they had something the Zolgar couldn't understand: creativity. Sarah had spent years working with the best minds on Earth, developing strategies to outsmart the Zolgar. They focused on innovation, creating new weapons, and new ways of thinking. They designed small, nimble ships that could slip past the Zolgar's giant warships. They built powerful energy weapons that could disable enemy ships without causing destruction. It wasn't about strength. It was about strategy. As the humans advanced, their presence started to make waves in the galaxy. First, it was small skirmishes, encounters with the Zolgar's scout ships. The Zolgar had noticed the humans, but they didn't take them seriously. After all, they had crushed far stronger enemies. Why would these weak humans be any different? But then something strange happened. The humans didn't back down. In fact, they kept fighting. They kept pushing back. And each time, they learned from their mistakes. They grew stronger. They adapted. The Zolgar began to see the humans as a nuisance, an annoying but harmless species. Still, they didn't take them seriously. However, the Zolgar were making a fatal mistake. They believed their strength would always win. But they hadn't yet realized that the humans were no ordinary species. They were resilient. They were willing to fight and sacrifice everything for their survival. It was only a matter of time before the Zolgar would discover that the humans were not just a threat. They were a force that could change everything. The galaxy was about to find out what it meant to challenge the strongest species. The Zolgar were not used to surprises. For centuries, they had been the dominant force in the galaxy, and every species knew their place. They controlled entire star systems with ease, and no one had ever dared to challenge them. But the humans, this small, insignificant species, were different. They were about to show the Zolgar that things could change. It all started when the Zolgar's fleet spotted a strange ship on their radar. It was unlike anything they had seen before. The ship was small, not even a fraction of the size of the Zolgar's massive warships. But it was fast, too fast. The ship darted across the stars, weaving in and out of Zolgar patrols as if it was playing a game. The Zolgar's best scanners could barely track it. They thought it was a mistake at first. Just a small ship, probably lost, nothing to worry about. But the Zolgar didn't take any chances. The Zolgar High Command immediately sent a warship to investigate. General Vroth, one of the fiercest commanders in the Zolgar fleet, was tasked with capturing the small intruder. He had no idea that he was about to face something that would change everything. Vroth's warship, the Zolgar Destruction, was a fearsome sight. It was equipped with the most powerful weapons in the galaxy, capable of wiping out entire fleets in a single strike. The Zolgar were confident that this small ship would be no match for them. They didn't even bother to activate their full defense systems. They thought it would be an easy capture. But as they neared the human ship, something strange happened. The small ship didn't try to escape. Instead, it slowed down and turned to face them. For a moment, General Vroth was confused. Why wasn't it running? Was it a trap? No, it was too late to think about that now. He had to capture the ship and deal with whatever this was. "Prepare the weapons," Vroth ordered, his voice cold. "We'll crush this tiny ship in an instant." But then, something unexpected happened. The human ship fired. The Zolgar ship shook, but it wasn't a direct hit. The blast was different. It didn't explode, but it sent out a massive pulse that caused the Zolgar's weapons to malfunction. The entire Zolgar Destruction shuddered as the power systems flickered. "Report," Vroth shouted. His soldiers scrambled to fix the damage, but it was clear that something had gone horribly wrong. The human ship didn't stop. It kept firing. Each shot carefully aimed to disable the Zolgar's weapons and shields without causing fatal damage. The Zolgar were losing control, their systems failing one by one. It was a fight they didn't expect, and they weren't prepared for it. Inside the human ship, Commander Sarah Weaver was calm. She had trained for this moment, for this very battle. The human ship, though small, was equipped with advanced technology that the Zolgar hadn't seen before. It was powered by a new type of energy core, one that could disrupt the weapons and shields of the Zolgar. They had designed it specifically for this purpose, to outsmart and outmaneuver the Zolgar's raw strength. "We've got them on the run," Sarah said, watching the Zolgar warship's systems slowly fail. Her crew was focused, their eyes locked on their stations, never showing fear. They had trained for years, and this was the moment they had been waiting for. The Zolgar's warship tried to retaliate, but it was too late. With their weapons disabled, their shields weak, and their engines failing, they were sitting ducks. Sarah Weaver issued a final command. All ships, prepare to fire. The humans fired a series of disabling shots that left the Zolgar ship floating helplessly in space. The Zolgar destruction was completely disabled, its crew in shock. They had never seen anything like this before. The mighty Zolgar were brought to their knees by a species they had dismissed as weak. Back on the Zolgar command ship, General Vroth fumed with rage. How could this happen? He demanded. We are the strongest in the galaxy. How could a tiny ship defeat us so easily? Vroth's officers were silent. They didn't know how to answer. No one had ever expected this from the humans. Their ship was too small, too quick, and their technology, well, it was unlike anything the Zolgar had seen before. The humans didn't fight with brute force. They fought with brains, using clever strategies and advanced tactics to disable their enemies. The Zolgar had always believed they were the top predators of the galaxy. They had been so sure of their strength that they hadn't bothered to pay attention to the small species growing in the shadows. Now, as they watched their warship float in space, helpless against the humans, they realized that they had made a huge mistake. Back on Earth, the humans were celebrating. It was the first victory in what would be many. The message was clear. Humans were not to be underestimated. They had arrived, and they were ready to change the galaxy. Sarah Weaver stood on the bridge of the human ship, looking out at the disabled Zolgar warship. She knew that this was just the beginning. The Zolgar wouldn't give up easily. But the humans had proven something that day. They had shown the galaxy that they were no longer a species to be ignored. The Zolgar had underestimated them. And now, they would pay the price. The first battle between the humans and the Zolgar had shocked the galaxy. The humans, with their small ships and clever technology, had taken down a Zolgar warship without firing a single killing shot. Instead, they had outsmarted them. The Zolgar couldn't believe what had happened. The defeat was humiliating, and the Zolgar were furious. But what happened next would shake the galaxy even more. Back on Zolgar homeworld, Emperor Xylog paced angrily in his war room. He had heard the reports of the human attack, and his anger was growing with each passing minute. How dare they challenge us? He growled. We are the greatest species in the galaxy. No one defies us. His advisors were silent, afraid to speak. They had never seen the Emperor so angry. Xylog had never been wrong before. He had crushed every enemy, every rebellion. But now, for the first time in his life, he was facing something he couldn't understand. We must strike back, Xylog said finally, his voice cold and deadly. We will teach these humans the price of defying the Zolgar. Across the galaxy, the humans were preparing for the next phase of their plan. Commander Sarah Weaver was leading the charge. The first victory against the Zolgar had been important, but it was just a small battle in a much larger war. They had to keep pushing, keep showing the Zolgar that they couldn't be defeated. We've taken down one warship, but that's just the beginning, Sarah said to her crew. We're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for every species that has been oppressed by the Zolgar. We will make them realize they can't control the galaxy forever. Her crew nodded. They were ready for whatever came next. The human fleet, small but growing, was now fully assembled. The ships were equipped with the latest weapons, powered by human ingenuity. Their secret weapon, the EMP disruptor, could disable the Zolgar's massive warships with ease. The humans had learned from their first victory. They knew that brute force wouldn't win this war, but clever tactics would. The Zolgar were powerful, but they were also arrogant and slow. The humans would use that against them. The human strategy was clear. They would strike quickly, using their small, nimble ships to attack and retreat before the Zolgar could respond. It wasn't about defeating the Zolgar in one big battle. It was about wearing them down, breaking their will to fight, until they couldn't keep up with the human speed and strategy. The first wave of human ships left Earth's orbit, heading toward the Zolgar's stronghold in the distant sector. Their target was the Zolgar's fleet, which had gathered to retaliate. The human ships, fast and agile, darted through space like shadows, disappearing and reappearing without warning. The Zolgar warships were massive. Their designs were built for strength, not speed. The ships were armed to the teeth with weapons capable of destroying entire planets, but they were slow to turn, slow to react. They were built for power, not for maneuvering. And the humans knew this. When the first human ship arrived at the Zolgar fleet, it was like a shadow in the night. The Zolgar didn't even see it coming. The humans launched an EMP burst that hit a Zolgar warship dead center. The warship's lights flickered, and then it went dark. Its weapon systems shut down, leaving it vulnerable. Before the Zolgar could react, the human ship was already gone, speeding away into the darkness of space. The Zolgar were left in chaos. Their massive warship was now nothing more than a drifting hulk. The humans had done it again. Again, General Vroth, the Zolgar commander who had been humiliated in the first battle, couldn't believe it. They'd done it again. The Zolgar were panicking. The humans weren't fighting them head-on like other species had done in the past. They were striking quickly, disabling their ships, and then disappearing before they could be caught. It was driving the Zolgar crazy. They had never fought an enemy like this before. Emperor Xylog's fury grew. Enough, he roared. We will not let these insignificant creatures make fools of us any longer. We will show them the full might of the Zolgar Empire. The Zolgar began to retaliate with all their strength. They sent wave after wave of warships to attack the humans. But the humans were always one step ahead. Each time the Zolgar sent a fleet, the humans had already moved on to a new location, leaving the Zolgar ships empty-handed. For every warship the Zolgar sent after them, the humans took down two. For every ship that tried to trap them, the humans found a way to break free. The humans were proving that it wasn't just about strength. It was about intelligence. It was about strategy. The humans didn't need to fight the Zolgar head-on to win. They could outsmart them, outmaneuver them, and leave them helpless. As the battles raged on, the Zolgar began to question their superiority. They were the strongest species in the galaxy, weren't they? Then why were they losing to these humans? The answer was simple. The Zolgar had underestimated their enemy. They had thought that power alone would win them the war. But the humans were proving that brains, not brawn, were the real key to victory. The first phase of the battle had begun. The humans had shown the galaxy that they were not a species to be ignored. The Zolgar had made a grave mistake by thinking they could control everything. Now, the humans were taking the fight to them, and they weren't going to stop until they won. The Zolgar were not used to defeat. For centuries, they had ruled the galaxy with their strength, their size, and their terrifying power. They had crushed every species that dared to challenge them. But the humans were different. They had shown that they could outsmart the Zolgar, that they could find a way to fight without using brute strength. After the first victory, the humans were filled with hope. They had proven that they could stand up to the Zolgar, that their small ships and clever strategies were a real threat. But even with this victory, they knew that the war was far from over. The Zolgar would not give up easily. They would fight harder, and they would be more dangerous than ever. The Zolgar High Command was in chaos. General Vroth, the proud commander of the Zolgar destruction, was furious. His ship had been disabled by a species he had dismissed as weak, and now he was determined to make them pay. We cannot let this stand, he growled to his officers. The humans have humiliated us, but we will crush them. We will show them what true power is. Vroth knew that the Zolgar's strength alone was not enough to defeat the humans. They had to adapt. They had to change their tactics. He quickly began gathering the best minds from across the Zolgar Empire, assembling a team of scientists and engineers to create new weapons, new technologies, anything that would give the Zolgar the upper hand in this war. But the humans were not sitting idly by. They knew the Zolgar would come for them, and they were preparing for the next battle. Commander Sarah Weaver was already planning her next move. She knew that the Zolgar would be more dangerous now, that they would come at them with everything they had. But Sarah also knew that the humans had something that the Zolgar didn't: resourcefulness. The human fleet was small, but they had been using their intelligence to build stronger, faster ships. They had created new weapons that could disable Zolgar ships without causing lasting damage. It wasn't enough to just win one battle. The humans needed to make sure they could keep fighting, that they could keep their advantage. The turning point came when the Zolgar launched a massive offensive. They sent an entire fleet to destroy Earth, to wipe out the humans once and for all. The humans knew that this would be their hardest fight yet. They had to defend their home, to show the galaxy that they could stand against the Zolgar's might. The Zolgar fleet approached Earth, their warships gleaming in the darkness of space. The humans knew they didn't have the numbers to face them head-on. But they had something the Zolgar didn't: the element of surprise. Sarah had ordered the humans to build a secret weapon, a weapon that could turn the tide of the battle. They had created a powerful energy disruptor, a weapon that could overload the Zolgar's shields and weapons, leaving their ships vulnerable. The plan was risky, but it was the only chance the humans had to win. As the Zolgar fleet neared Earth, the humans made their move. The energy disruptor was activated, sending out a massive pulse that rippled through space. The Zolgar fleet was caught off guard. Their shields flickered, their weapons failed, and their ships began to fall into chaos. General Vroth watched in horror as his fleet was torn apart. The humans had struck with precision, their disruptor disabling the Zolgar's systems one by one. The Zolgar were no longer the unstoppable force they had once been. Their pride had been shattered. But even with their weapons disabled, the Zolgar were not willing to give up. Vroth ordered his ships to engage in hand-to-hand combat, sending out their best warriors to board human ships and fight on the ground. The humans fought back with everything they had. They were smaller, weaker in terms of strength, but they were fast and determined. Sarah Weaver led her crew into battle, fighting side by side with the soldiers who had become her family. The human fleet was engaged in a fierce battle against the Zolgar on the ground and in space. It was a war of wills, of strategy, of heart. The Zolgar may have been stronger, but the humans were not backing down. In the midst of the chaos, Sarah saw the turning point. The Zolgar had underestimated the humans. They had thought that they could crush them with sheer power, but the humans had shown them something more dangerous: courage. The battle raged on for hours, but the humans had gained the upper hand. Their ships were still intact, their weapons were still firing. The Zolgar, on the other hand, were struggling. Their warriors were falling, their ships were being destroyed, and their pride was shattered. General Vroth had no choice but to retreat. The Zolgar, the once unbeatable species, had been forced to withdraw. The humans had won. But the victory wasn't just about winning the battle. It was about proving that the Zolgar were no longer the most powerful species in the galaxy. The humans had proven that strength wasn't just about size or firepower. It was about heart, and the humans had shown that they had the heart to fight for their survival, no matter the odds. As the Zolgar fleet retreated, Sarah Weaver stood on the bridge of the human ship, watching as the battle came to an end. The humans had won, but they knew the war was far from over. They had taken a step forward, but there was still much to be done. The turning point had come, and the humans were ready to take on whatever the Zolgar threw at them next. The Zolgar were not a species that accepted defeat easily. For centuries, they had been the rulers of the galaxy, feared by all. But after their crushing loss to the humans, something had changed. The galaxy was no longer theirs to control. The humans had proven that they were a force to be reckoned with, and now, the Zolgar were scrambling to figure out how to stop them. General Vroth, still furious over the loss, paced back and forth in the command room of his flagship. The Zolgar fleet had retreated, but they hadn't given up. Vroth had made it clear. The Zolgar would fight again, but this time, they would be ready. He wasn't going to let a smaller, weaker species stand in his way. Not again. "We will rebuild," Vroth growled. We will build a fleet so powerful that even the humans will tremble before us. But as Roth worked to strengthen the Zolgar fleet, something unexpected happened. Far beyond the reach of the Zolgar, the humans were preparing for something even bigger. Commander Sarah Weaver stood on the bridge of her ship, looking out at the stars. The battle with the Zolgar had been hard, but the humans had proven they could win. Still, Sarah knew that the war was far from over. The Zolgar were dangerous, and they would come back stronger. The humans had to be ready. The human fleet had already begun making improvements. They had learned from their first battle with the Zolgar and had come up with new strategies and technologies. But it wasn't just about fighting smarter. The humans needed something more. They needed a new power. It was then that Sarah received the message. It was from Dr. Henry Archer, one of the top scientists on Earth. He had been working on something in secret, something that could change everything. Commander Weaver, Dr. Archer's voice crackled through the comms. We've completed the project. It's ready for testing. Sarah felt a rush of excitement. This could be the key to turning the tide of the war. She quickly gave the order to move to the testing site. The humans had developed a new type of weapon, one that didn't rely on firepower or brute strength. Instead, it used energy from the very fabric of space itself. They had learned to tap into the cosmic energy that flowed through the universe, using it to create devastating weapons that could tear through the Zolgar's defenses. The first test was conducted on a small asteroid in deep space. Dr. Archer activated the device, and for a moment, nothing happened. Then, a bright flash of light exploded from the asteroid, sending shockwaves through the surrounding space. The shockwave was so powerful that it could be felt across the galaxy. "That's it," Dr. Archer said, his voice filled with awe. "The power of the stars. We can use this against the Zolgar." Sarah watched as the test continued. The weapon was capable of harnessing energy from distant stars, focusing it into a concentrated beam of destructive power. The human fleet now had a weapon that could rival even the Zolgar's most powerful ships. The humans quickly began mass-producing the new weapon, attaching it to their warships. Each ship would be equipped with the stellar cannon, a weapon that could fire a burst of cosmic energy capable of destroying entire fleets. Sarah knew that the Zolgar wouldn't see this coming. They had always relied on their size and strength, but the humans had outsmarted them. Now, the humans had the power to level the playing field. The humans sent a message to the Zolgar High Command, daring them to come for Earth again. The message was simple, but clear. We are no longer the weak ones. The war is about to change. The Zolgar responded quickly, not willing to let the humans get the upper hand. They had already begun to rebuild their fleet, and they would stop at nothing to crush the humans. But they didn't know what was coming. The humans made their move. The stellar cannon was deployed on every ship in the fleet. The humans were no longer a small, weak species. They were a new power, one that could destroy the Zolgar's mightiest warships with a single shot. As the Zolgar fleet entered the solar system, ready for another attack on Earth, they were met with the human fleet, now fully armed with the new weapon. The Zolgar ships were massive, their weapons powerful, but the humans had something that would turn the tide of the battle. The first shot was fired. A brilliant beam of cosmic energy shot from the human fleet, tearing through the Zolgar ships like paper. The Zolgar had no time to react. Their shields were shattered, their weapons destroyed. The humans had become the galaxy's new power, and the Zolgar realized they were no longer the top predators in the universe. The battle raged on, but the outcome was clear. The humans had the upper hand now. With their new weapon, they could take down even the mightiest Zolgar warships. The Zolgar were no longer the unbeatable force they had once been. General Vroth watched in disbelief as his fleet was torn apart. The humans had done what no one thought possible. They had changed the game. The Zolgar were not finished, but they had learned a hard lesson. The humans were not to be underestimated. A new power had risen, and it was determined to defend its home, no matter the cost. As the battle ended, Sarah Weaver stood at the helm of her ship, staring out at the wreckage of the Zolgar fleet. It was a victory, but she knew the war wasn't over. The humans had proven their strength, but now they had to keep fighting. The Zolgar would be back, but the humans were ready. The war had truly begun, and this time, the humans were the ones in control. The galaxy was changing. The humans had proven themselves to be more than just survivors. They had become a new power in the galaxy, a force that even the mighty Zolgar could not ignore. After their victory over the Zolgar fleet, the humans had taken the first steps towards something bigger, something that would reshape the future of the galaxy. Commander Sarah Weaver stood on the bridge of the U.S. Valor, staring out into the vastness of space. Earth was safe for now, but the war was far from over. The Zolgar had been beaten, but they were not gone. They would come back, and the humans had to be ready. "We've won this battle," Sarah said, turning to her officers. "But this is only the beginning. We've shown the galaxy what we can do, but we need to make sure that no one ever threatens Earth again." Her voice was firm, but she couldn't hide the concern in her eyes. The humans had fought hard, but they couldn't afford to be complacent. The Zolgar weren't the only threat in the galaxy. There were other species, other powers, who would see the humans as a challenge. Sarah knew that Earth needed allies. The time had come for the humans to expand their reach. "We need to build relationships with other species," Sarah continued. "We can't fight this war alone. We've proven that we're strong, but we need to show the galaxy that we can work together." The humans had always been a solitary species, focused on their own planet, their own survival. But now, they had the power to change things. They had shown that they could fight, that they could stand against the greatest threats the galaxy had to offer. And now, they needed to build something new, a new galaxy, one where humans were no longer just a small, isolated species. Sarah and her team began to work on a plan. They would send ambassadors to different star systems, trying to build alliances and make friends in the galaxy. The humans had to prove that they were not just conquerors, but that they could be trusted. They needed to find common ground with other species to show that they were not a threat, but an ally. The first stop was the Galactic Federation, a group of peaceful species who had long avoided conflict. The Federation's members were wary of the humans, unsure of their intentions. But the humans had something to offer: their technology, their knowledge, and their strength. Sarah and her team traveled to the Federation's capital, a massive station in the center of the galaxy. The station was a hub for trade, science, and diplomacy. As Sarah and her crew walked through the halls of the station, she could feel the weight of the moment. This was the first step in building the new galaxy, a galaxy where humans could thrive. The Federation representatives were cautious, but they listened to what the humans had to say. Sarah spoke passionately about Earth's future, about the need for unity in the galaxy, and about the importance of standing together in the face of threats like the Zolgar. Slowly, the Federation members began to see the humans in a new light. They saw that the humans were not just a species of war, but a species with hope, with vision. "We are not just asking for help," Sarah said. "We are offering a partnership. Together, we can build something stronger. We can build a new galaxy, one where no species has to face danger alone." The Federation leaders took their time to consider the proposal. It wasn't easy for them to trust the humans, but after careful deliberation, they agreed to form an alliance. The humans were officially part of the Galactic Federation. It was a victory for Earth, but it was only the beginning. The humans needed more allies if they were to survive in a galaxy full of dangers. The next step was to reach out to the Trellon Empire, a species known for their advanced technology and military might. The Trellons were proud and distant, but Sarah knew that if they could make a deal with the Trellons, they would have an even stronger position in the galaxy. The journey to the Trellon Empire was long and difficult. The Trellons were a formidable species, and they didn't trust outsiders easily. But Sarah was determined. She knew that if the humans could earn the Trellons' trust, it would be a game-changer. When the humans arrived at the Trellon homeworld, they were met with suspicion. The Trellans had heard of the humans, of their victory over the Zolgar, and they were wary. They had seen other species rise and fall before, and they didn't want to make the same mistakes. Sarah and her team worked tirelessly to convince the Trellans that the humans were not like the others. They offered their help, their knowledge, and their advanced weaponry. Slowly but surely, the Trellans began to soften. They saw the humans as more than just another species looking for power. They saw the humans as potential partners, ones who could help defend the galaxy from the dangers that lay ahead. The Trellans agreed to an alliance, and with that, the humans had secured another powerful ally. With each new alliance, the humans were building a new galaxy, a galaxy where Earth would no longer be alone. They were no longer just a species fighting to survive. They were becoming a force for good, a force that could bring peace and stability to the galaxy. Sarah stood on the bridge of the U.S. Valor once more, looking out at the stars. The galaxy had changed. The humans had changed. And with their new alliances, they were ready to take on whatever challenges the future held. The war with the Zolgar was not over, but the humans had proven that they could survive and thrive. They had created a new galaxy, one where Earth was no longer a small, insignificant planet. Earth was now a powerful force in the galaxy, and nothing could stop them from reaching for the stars.